Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. I've been slacking a bit, but it's time for a collection update. I got a stack of new stuff, culled from various locations, so you know what that means. Let's do it. First batch I'm going to show comes courtesy of a new record store that opened in Toronto. A new punk record store. It's called Ihmisen's Record Shop. My buddy Dave, former bandmate, current salt of the earth, he went and did it. He opened a record store, and it fucking rules. My buddy Steve and I went down a few weeks back, checked it out. I was blown away. Place looks great. It's got an excellent selection. It's finely curated. The prices are fair. You got knowledgeable staff, the whole 9 yards. They share the space with Major Treat, which is a coffee shop run by Martin from Career Suicide. I believe it's his second location in Toronto. So overall, the place is awesome. And if you're in Toronto, definitely stop by and check it out. It's at 168 Brunswick Ave at Harvard. They also do mail order, so I'll put a link to that below. I was telling Creepy Ghoul, I don't know if you're familiar with Creepy Ghoul or not, but he's a Toronto area guy that also does a channel, shows a lot of really good shit. He had no idea that it existed, so I suggested he go check it out. He just posted a video all about emissions, like he's goes in the store with the camera and that. So I'll leave a link for him below as well. Go and sub to him. He's a good dude, and check out the video if you're interested in that sort of thing. Anyways, so I spent some money at emissions because that's what I do. So I'll show those now. Beginning with a cute little 5-inch Power Violence split between No Comply and They Live. No Comply is from St. Augustine, Florida. They Live, of course, from Buffalo, New York. I've talked about them on here before. It's a good record. I don't buy many 5-inches, but if They Live puts something out, I'm definitely picking it up. Both bands, textbook classic Power Violence, played the way it should be. Yeah, that's really what it is. No more, no less. Straight up, well done Power Violence. It's a split release between 625 Thrashcore and To Live a Lie Records. Next up, we got one of the newer Iron Lung Records releases. It's the World 7-inch by Living World. Never heard of Living World before. They're from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been, killing it lately with their local bands. Just even over the last few years. I mean, you've had Blood Pressure, White Stains, Loose Nukes, and now Living World, who are also really, really good. This is more towards the Blood Pressure side of Pittsburgh hardcore. This has got kind of a tough, really mean element to it. It's just stomping like fuck you hardcore. That's what it is. There's some kind of rampaging parts on it that remind me a little bit of something like Direct Control maybe. But overall, it's a good record. I'm kind of stoked on hearing what they dish out in the future. So yeah, Living World. And another Iron Lung Records release. It's a band from Texas called Heaven. It's Starless Midnight. Never heard of this band before. Don't know anything about them other than they're from Texas. It's rooted in 80s hardcore. This is kind of like the soundtrack for Agitation, maybe. They just sound agitated. It's kind of ugly. Most of it's kind of like breakneck, fast, kind of somewhat discordant, gnarled hardcore. The guitar player is not afraid of nonsense solos, which is something I could totally get behind. They do slow it down from time to time and just make this like weird, moody, ugly kind of music. But yeah, good band. I'm also interested to see what they kick out in the future. Yeah, Heaven. And here's one I've already discussed just a few videos ago. It's Oxygen Tank. I have 2 different versions of their demo, and this is that same demo just put to vinyl, but I'm not going to pass this by. 2-piece studio project kind of thing. Chris Colahan from Left 4 Dead, Cursed, Swarm, Sect. He's also the guy behind the counter at Emissions in Creepy Ghoul's video. But yeah, he's doing vocals on this, and then there's another guy who I don't actually know, but he's played in bands that I've seen. But anyways, yeah, this is kind of the closest thing to Left 4 Dead that Chris has done since Left 4 Dead, at least in my opinion. It's pissed off, angry, thick hardcore. It's really, really good. So yeah, check it out. I'm not going to go much deeper into it because I already talked more at length when I showed the cassettes. But yeah, Oxygen Tank demo. It's on Anthems of the Undesirable. And we got one I was kind of stoked to find because it's great. It's Coty Tuhoa. It's Ihmisen Kasvot. It's on La Vida es un Mus. Now, this was the only Coty Tuhoa record that I didn't have. You know, I don't have the demo, but I mean, as far as vinyl releases, this is the only one I didn't have. I made an order to Destructure from France to order another record, and I noticed that they had this, so I ordered it. And then they ended up sending me the self-titled Coty Tuhoa record instead, which I already had. And then they wouldn't respond to my emails asking them to, you know, make it right or whatever. So I ended up giving the self-titled one to Clifford the Vinyl Cheapskate as VCLT, and you know, just figured I'd pick this up at a later date, which I now have. Won't talk a whole lot about Coty Tuhoa because I've discussed them many times already on the channel. Furious, scathing Finnish hardcore with female vocals. Little bit of an anarcho-punk thing to it, kinda, once in a while, but by and large, I'm just pretty happy I finally picked this up because it was starting to irritate me. And then we have another band I've discussed before, Innumerable Forms. This is Punishment in Flesh. I already had this on cassette, but I didn't have a vinyl version of it. Band from Boston. It's got kind of like the who's who of, you know, Boston hardcore band members in it, except for Jensen from Iron Lung plays on this as well, as does Chris Ulsh from Mammoth Grinder and Powertrip and whatnot. You got words, you got drawings. It's released by Profound Lore, but yeah, crushing death metal band from Boston. Super good. And one that I've been waiting for quite some time, the new Gauze. It's a title that I cannot read, but according to Google Translator, it says, I didn't say it. Whether you believe him or not, that's up to you. I purposely didn't listen to this until I got a copy, because I'm weird that way. I heard a guy that I know describe it. He was disappointed with it, and he said he wasn't expecting to get Melt Banana, and I thought, that's fucking weird. So now I finally got a copy, and I mean, it starts out with this weird, distorted kind of surfy thing, and then just busts out into the, you know, the controlled chaos that is Gauze. There's these guitar parts where it almost sounds like a dentist drill at times, and I'm guessing that's where the Melt Banana comparison comes from. There's also a lot of breaks where it's just like a snare and floor tom interplay with just vocals over top and no stringed instruments. But yeah, I didn't find that it detracted from my enjoyment at all. I still think this is a pretty good record, so I mean, it's all a matter of opinion, I suppose, but whatever. It's on XXX Records or XXX Records or whatever, but yeah, I'm glad I got it because Gauze rules. Classic Japanese hardcore. Here's another band from Japan, one I'd never heard of. It's on FOAD Records. It's Semetary. It's the No Runaway complete discography, 1989 to 1982 or 1992. Yeah, never heard of this band before. This looks to be four different demos on this. It's a double LP. It's got elements of traditional Japanese hardcore in it, but it also is kind of got that like kind of thrashcore thing going on. It's kind of like a merging of the two. Got the Obi strip on it. Gatefold with like flyers and words and pictures and shit. It's pretty good. It reminds me a lot of another Japanese band called Damnable Excite Zombies, who also kind of have the mix of a traditional Japanese hardcore and a kind of a thrashcore element to it. So that's who they reminded me of anyway. But yeah, never heard of them before. Semetary. And another Japanese band. This one's from 1997. Smash Your Face. It's dirty, nasty, and fucking high energy. I've got a few Smash Your Face records. I like this band. They remind me a lot of the Dwarves, if they were Japanese. But they also have a bit of more of a hardcore element to them than the Dwarves do. This one here has less of that hardcore element. It's more like a straight up like hard rockin' kind of garagey Dwarves-esque kind of record. Their later stuff, they'd start to develop more of a little bit of heaviness to them in that, but this is still really good, and it's one I'd never ever seen before. Yeah. Smash your face. Hot tub there. And that was it for the stuff from Emissions. Ended up having to go get a pair of shoes. Found myself in front of Cops records, which I'd been into before, but have never found anything that I wanted. But this time I did. A copy of ODs, Back at the Ranch. It's on Fresh Sounds Incorporated. Now, I'd heard this band before because somewhere along the line I had downloaded the MP3s of this. The band was from Kansas City, Kansas. ODs stands for Orange Donuts. This is kind of like, it's from 1984. It kind of reminds me of a cross between like a Southern California band, like Adolescence maybe, but with a Midwest thing like Zero Boys. Like it's a mix of those, but not as great as either of those bands, but still pretty awesome. There are some slower songs that are kind of goofy and artsy that I don't like as much, but the actual like punk songs are really good. Yeah, I did not expect to find this at Cops, and it was cheap as hell, so I'll take that. And the last few here I got from Campus Discs Meet. I've talked about it once before, I think, but Campus Discs is a guy from Toronto that has a shitload of, secondhand records. And he goes around to college campuses and then has record sales. But he's friends with a guy that I know, and so sometimes he'll come to that guy's house and just do a record show out of the guy's garage. And he did one in a midweek one, so I had nothing else to do, so I went. Ended up picking up a copy of the Teenage Head self-titled LP. Originally released in '79. This is a 1981 pressing on other people's music. I didn't have this particular pressing. Now I do. It was pretty cheap, too. Great band from Hamilton, Ontario. Just awesome rock and roll. There's a punk influence. There's some power pop in there, but I mean, largely considered one of the earliest Canadian punk bands. And, it's really just awesome rock and roll. Also, the first punk band that I ever saw. I was like 10 or something. And I also found a copy of Mad 12-inch by Raven. Fucking hate that cover, though. But I'll buy Raven records whenever I see. I just never see ones I don't own already, very often. And this was one I didn't have. High energy, new wave of British heavy metal kind of stuff. Little goofy, but goofy enough that I'm into it. So yeah, Raven, Mad. And lastly, I had this on cassette when I was younger, and I don't remember much of it, but I figured I must not have liked it very much because I got rid of it at some point. But it's Powertrip, When We Cut, We Bleed. It was originally released in '83. This is a later one, like '87. This has got Jeff Dahl in it, who was a member of Angry Samoans at one point in time, and then he had a fairly prolific solo career. These guys, they refer to themselves as speed metal on this. It's more like bar punk, like it's just really generic kind of punk that leans towards hardcore at times, and just the guitar player thinks he's a metal guy and starts trying to noodle away and stuff. I mean, it's okay, but it's not anything that I'm gonna listen to a lot. So I can see why I got rid of it way back when. But yeah, they're from Hollywood. They're pretty average. Iron Crosses. Fuck that. Anyways, Powertrip. And that's all I got. So yeah, go to Emission's record shop. Subscribe to Creepy Ghoul. Have a good work week. See ya.